Hey guys, another video on the Caddy. So in the last episode you saw that we sprayed the engine bay and now it's ready to put the engine parts in. So today we're going to be working on the steering rack, getting it ready to put it in. Okay, so I've got all of the parts laid out here. On this side are going to be the ones that I'm going to just replace. They're not really too bad, the rubbers are a little bit ripped. The ends are not too bad, at the same time I've got it off so I might as well replace them. I'm also going to be putting Powerflex bushes on, so I'll be waiting for them to come in the post. The clamps themselves I'm going to be reusing. I've put this one in the sandblaster and you can see here the finish is really not too bad, so I'll just be reusing these. And the steering rack. So with the steering rack I'm just going to be giving it a quick clean and a coat of paint. Also just putting some new grease on the ends just to keep it running well for the future. So yeah, it's a bit cold at the moment, so I'm just going to get straight into it. So I've sanded down the steering rack, got it back to bare metal, so it's ready for the first coat of primer. It was a bit tricky to sand because of the tight edges here, so some places I've had to leave just a little bit of the old paint. I've scuffed it up as much as I can, but yeah, I'm just going to give it a coat of etch primer now. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I stripped down the hub carriers. So I took out the wheel bearing and the hubs themselves. So this is the tool I used. So it's a wheel bearing puller. Yeah, it came in handy. It's well worth the investment. But yeah, so I've got the hubs here. I've used a wire wheel just to strip down all of the paint from them and also to get rid of most of the rust that I could. So I'm using this product here, so it's Built Hamber Deoxy. So it's a rust remover, so hopefully it works. It seems to be bubbling. So I'll quickly tell you, I used 1 part water, sorry, 1 part of the powder to 19 parts of water. And it says to keep it to a certain temperature if you want it to be faster, so it'll be 90 degrees. So I've just got this heater here. It's probably not 90 degrees, but it's just keeping it a little bit warmer, as outside it's a bit cold at the moment. But it seems to be doing something. There's bubbling here and there, so hopefully most of the rust is removed from them. So I'll show you the results once it's done. So I've just been playing around with some of the mounts on one of the covers while the paint dries on the steering rack. So I've got it kind of a polished look. So what I done first was sandblast it, and then I sanded it with 320 grit, then 600, then 800, and then 1200, and then used polishing wheel on a grinder with some auto sol, and this is the finish. So it looks much better than obviously this. Yeah, so I'll quickly show you how I've done this one. Okay, so when sanding the piece of metal, what I learned is you start with 320 grit, then move on to 600, 800 and 1200. You can go a bit finer than that afterwards if you wanted to. Be a little bit more easy to polish, and you'll probably get a more shiny finish. You want to probably give the metal parts a clear coat after you've done polishing them, just to protect them, as you're kind of removing a coating of protection from there. If you saw on the back of the circle plate, you saw it was gold. I think that's a zinc coating on there. So when you're sanding, you have to remember that you're removing some anti-corrosive material, so you want to be able to put that back on. So I'd recommend just giving them a little spray with clear coat just to protect them. That's what I done after I polished them. Start with light coats and then build it up, just so it has a little bit of bite to it and it will stick, otherwise it will just end up peeling off. And this is the finished product. So I've done 2 passes with the polisher and 1 by hand, and as you can see, it's shiny. So yeah, I've got a couple parts like this I want to do. The back is still original, but just the front I just made into a polished surface. I'll make it look a little bit nicer, even though no one's going to see. But yeah, I'm just going to get on with the rest of the pieces. Okay, so the steering rack's been done. It's all painted and put back together. I also refilled it with grease, and the new parts are here today. So there are a couple parts that will let me put the steering rack back on today. So I've got a lower arm, the new tie rod ends, 2 top mounts, some clips, and new boots for the steering rack, and that's about it from there. Also, I've got some Powerflex bushes, so if you'd like to get your own Powerflex bushes, I'll put his Instagram in the bio, and just let him know that I sent you over. Okay, so yeah, let's get putting on this steering rack. Okay, so I'm going to be installing the Powerflex bushes. Again, if you want some Powerflex bushes, the link will be in the description for where you can get yourself some. So it comes with a packet of grease. You want to put that all over the bush on the inside and the outside to keep it lubricated. So over here I'm just putting it all around the bush, just making sure that the whole area is covered. So the next step is going to be putting the bushes with the grease onto the wishbone. Also, don't forget to put some of the grease onto the metal sleeve that the bush goes into. Okay, so they're fairly easy to go on, the bushes. You just slide it in, especially with the grease on there. It makes it a little bit easier for it to slide on. And then of course some excess grease comes out, so just put that on to the outer edge of the bush. So fitting the other bushes were also easy. It just slots in on one side and then slot the other side in, and then you put the metal sleeve through the middle, and it's very easy. So you just slide it in, and if you struggle with this part, you can put it flat like I did and push it down, and then I just used a rubber mallet and hit it in. So moving on to the ball joint, I bought a new ball joint and some hardware to fit it in, so it just slides in. So it's very straightforward to fit them. You just put the nuts and bolts in and tighten them up. Just make sure that you've tightened them up fairly good. They don't have to be too tight, but again, just make sure that they're tight. Okay, so I've got most of the steering rack bolted in. I really like these polished clamps here. They really make a big difference. So I put some new bolts on just to hold it down. I haven't completely tightened them, but I will just when I'm sure everything is going to be right. So with the boots, I haven't put them all the way on, just so when I do get the car tracked, the wheel alignment and tracking, if they do need to adjust it, this clamp isn't fully pressed down, so after they've done the wheel alignment, they can just push it back and clamp them down for me. So I've also put on the lower wishbone with the new Powerflex bushes. All went on okay, so that was good. And quickly, I've just pulled one of the hub carriers out of the solution, the built hammer solution that I put yesterday, and the results are amazing. Most of the rust has been removed. There are some slight spots where the rust hasn't been fully penetrated, but I'm just going to use a wire brush and then put it back in there, just probably overnight again and see the results. But yeah, I think that's enough work for today. So if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to share to your friends. Thanks for watching.